Forget the Lakers, forget the Knicks, forget the Bucks. Chris Paul is being traded to the Phoenix Suns and the NBA offseason is officially getting interesting. What's up guys, Mike here, and today, yes, we are talking about the Chris Paul trade to the Phoenix Suns. This is massive. I have a ton to talk about in today's video, but before I talk about Chris Paul, make sure to subscribe to the channel right now because this is the NBA offseason. There are going to be tons of videos coming out. I'm going to be covering every NBA trade, the NBA draft, NBA free agency. It is a huge time of the year. Subscribe and turn post notifications on so you never miss a video. As for right now, this trade is an absolutely huge win for the Suns, as remember, Phoenix was able to get Kelly Oubre, one of the biggest players in this deal, for Trevor Ariza. And now, using Kelly Oubre, the Suns are able to get Chris Paul. And yes, Chris Paul is older. Yes, he is technically out of his prime, but to anyone who thinks Chris Paul is on the wrong side of the age fence here, let's talk for a second. Because to start things off right now, a very important thing to remember is that this is not going to be a huge long-term commitment, and in reality, based on his contract, this is most likely going to be a 2-year commitment to Chris Paul that could end up being very important for the Phoenix Suns in the long run. The reason for this is that, of course, the Suns are finally proving to Devin Booker that they are committed to building a winning culture. This is crucial, as this offseason it was reported that Devin Booker wanted out of Phoenix, as Ryan Russillo said it was the worst kept secret in the NBA that Devin Booker wants to leave the Suns. Now, at the time, this statement was met with a lot of criticism, as others reported that Devin was still happy in Phoenix, but when there's smoke, a lot of times there's fire, and if we look at Booker's statements heading up to this offseason, we can certainly see that there was a lot of smoke. Remember, all the way back in April of 2018, Devin went on record and said this:
I'm done with not making the playoffs. I'm serious, this is probably my last year ever not making the playoffs. I feel like playing a pointless game sometimes, and you never want to have that feeling.
2 years later, the Suns have still never made the playoffs with Devin Booker on their team, and so that meant that this season coming up, they really had to view this as a do or die opportunity. They knew that if they did not build a playoff team next season, if they did not show Devin Booker that they were not rebuilding and instead were committed to winning now, well then it's likely that after the 2021 season was over, or perhaps during it, Devin Booker likely would demand a trade when the losses began to pile up, which is why trading for Chris Paul is the perfect move for Phoenix. I say this because right now, let's take a trip back in time to just 1 season ago when Chris Paul was joining the Oklahoma City Thunder, and to be honest, nobody really expected much. In fact, expectations were so low that ESPN gave the Thunder just a 0.2% chance of making the 2020 playoffs. 0.2%. That is how low everyone thought of the situation in Oklahoma City. They believed that Chris Paul would not want to play on a young team, as he was used to being a star for a potential contender. However, as we saw, what happened instead really shows you just how transformative of a player Chris Paul is on and off the court. Because not only did the Thunder overachieve, they wildly overachieved. They finished as the 5th seed in the Western Conference and went to Game 7 in the first round against the Rockets. With the odds completely stacked against him, Chris Paul was able to turn around a team that nobody had any hope in, and now, with the Phoenix Suns, you better believe that Chris Paul is going to have the same type of impact. You better believe that the Suns are going to transform themselves into a truly dangerous team. So with that said, let's start out with Chris Paul here, because playing with Shea and Dennis Schroeder last season, Paul was not forced to handle all of the point guard responsibilities for the Thunder, and more importantly, he was willing to give up possessions as the lead guard. He is not like some other ball dominant stars we have seen in the league, players I don't have to mention because you know who I'm talking about. Instead, Chris Paul showed that even with guys like Shea and Schroeder, 2 players who were not all-star level talent last year, he was able to coexist with 2 other playmaking guards, and the results paid off big time. As playing with the right kind of other guards, Chris Paul incredibly made the all-star team for the first time in 4 seasons and finished the year as a member of the 2nd team All-NBA. This shows us that not only is Chris Paul going to be an incredible locker room presence and an incredible veteran leader for the Suns, but that also he still has gas left in the tank. He is still one of the best guards in the league, and that means that Phoenix now has to be considered a playoff team at least for the 2021 season, and I emphasize at least because there is a lot of potential to go on from there. I mean, as we all know, the Suns were awesome last year in the bubble, as they went undefeated and were possibly the biggest storyline of the bubble before the playoffs began. And during this playoff run, a lot of Suns players stepped up, but of course, the 2 most important players here were Devin Booker and Deandre Eden. At this point, the question has to be asked, just how good can Devin Booker become? He still shockingly is only 24 years old. It feels like this man never ages, and in the last 2 seasons, he averaged 26.6 points per game. Then in the bubble, he averaged 30.5 points, 6 assists, and 4.9 rebounds a game, numbers that put him in truly elite company. So already we have seen Devin Booker does have the potential to become a true star in this league, and now playing with Chris Paul, Devin has the chance to learn from an NBA Hall of Famer. I mean, no offense to Ricky Rubio, but Chris Paul has been an NBA superstar. The wisdom that he can impart on Devin Booker is practically unlimited. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that practicing, playing with, and just being around Chris Paul on a daily basis is going to make Devin Booker a better player. Then when we factor in that Devin is going to get easier shots with CP3 running the offense, well, this is truly a perfect scenario for him. And what's crazy is that in my opinion, while Devin Booker is certainly going to benefit from this trade, the man who might benefit the most is Deandre Eden. Because while everyone talks about Devin Booker and his star potential, remember, Deandre Eden is just 22 years old and last season averaged 18.2 points per game and 11.5 rebounds per game. Deandre also has the potential to become a multi-time All-Star, and going even further, he really does have the potential to become one of the best centers in the league. This is great news for Suns fans, as playing with Chris Paul, I would bet that this potential is going to be unleashed. Chris Paul is the ultimate pick and roll partner. He is a pick and roll master, and that is going to be huge for Eden, especially because just last season, Eden was not a huge pick and roll player. He ran a pick and roll on just 18.3% of his possessions, a number that does not even put him in the top 75 of the NBA. You can be sure that with Chris Paul now directing him both in practice and in actual games, Eden's pick and roll touches are going to increase, as is his efficiency. This is going to be massive for DeAndre's game, and in general, again, he is really getting an ideal scenario here. Not many young potential star big men in the NBA get the chance to play with a legitimate Hall of Fame point guard, and you can be sure that Chris Paul is going to be the type of leader that Phoenix needs. And I do want to bring this up. If you followed Chris Paul's career up until this point, you may have some concern because there were times when Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan seemed to really dislike Chris Paul's intense demeanor on the floor, but to that, again, I say Chris Paul is not one of those players that is not capable of adjusting his game and his mindset as he gets older. He has proven to us with the Thunder that he can be a leader and a role model for a young team, and the reports from OKC are glowing. Everyone loved him there, and as Greg Popovich has said, if a young player can understand what a Chris Paul can give them, then it's a huge boon to his career. Chris is an alpha. He's a natural leader. He takes no prisoners. He suffers no fools. He's there to win. And I couldn't put it any better. Chris Paul is going to build a winning culture in Phoenix, and yes, he is going to cost a lot of money for the next 2 years, but in those next 2 seasons, the Suns are going to benefit greatly from Paul's leadership and play on and off the court. Then, by the time Chris Paul's run in Phoenix is over, or at least by the time his contract is over, I can guarantee that any young player who is willing to listen to the wisdom of a Hall of Famer is going to be a better player than what he would have been if Chris Paul had never joined the Suns. And in 2 seasons, Devin Booker will still just be 26, DeAndre Eden will be just 24, and with Chris Paul's salary going off the books, the Suns will be in position to sign a major free agent, a massive third-level star that could leap them into the conversation as a potential favorite for the NBA championship. In the past few seasons, things have been tough for the Phoenix Suns, but now I can honestly say the future in Phoenix is extremely bright, and I cannot wait to see what happens. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and again, if you did, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to be uploading a ton of new videos during the NBA offseason. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single video, so subscribe and make sure to turn post notifications on. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, guys, and cue that music. If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are definitely going to enjoy. Make sure to click on one of them. Again, I know you're going to love it. And other than that, have a great day and peace.